Welcome to a Wayne 15 special presentation, Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana. Now here's your hosts, Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight as we salute and honor our servicemen and women.
We'll share stories of veterans young and old from Northeast Indiana and across the country. In our first story tonight, we meet a local vet who's in charge of her school's Veterans Day program. As
Wayne 15's Emily Dwyer shows us, her mission every year is to make it bigger and better.
For 8 years, Casey Carr has been an administrative assistant at Irwin Elementary School. Along with her daily tasks, she also leads the charge in putting the school's annual Veterans Day program together.
It's my thing. This is my favorite time of the year.
For that part of her story, we go back to the summer of 2002, 9 months after 9/11.
So it was either college or it was the military.
Casey chose a life of service and joined the United States Air Force, training in Texas and Mississippi before she was stationed in Japan. A month later, she was deployed to Iraq, where she stayed for 6.5 months.
I learned to appreciate what we have a lot more, especially being in Iraq and them being so limited to resources and supply, just food, water, having a fear for your life walking to school.
Years later, back in the home of the free, the Air Force vet now works year-round on Irwin's Veterans Day program, which is growing by the year.
It makes my heart warm because I'm able to give back to those that were willing to risk it all for our country. I know what they go through, so that's why I push so hard to try to get them everything that I feel like they deserve.
Dozens of veterans attend the event. Many are relatives of students and staff. Each one gets a free makeover and breakfast. The program also features veteran speakers, a posting of the colors, raffle prizes, and gift bags for each veteran in attendance.
I want them to just take a little small token of appreciation. He's home with them that day.
A showing of honor and thanks.
I know we can't give them everything that they're worth, but just hopefully they see the effort that we're trying to show them that we are more than thankful for everything that you have done for us, for our country, for your families. We appreciate it all.
Casey also views Irwin's program as an opportunity for the students to understand who veterans are and the great sacrifices they make.
Military is not all about fighting, going to war. These are people that, care a lot for this country, that will give their life for this country because they believe in this country so much.
Casey is proud of her service.
If I have to give up my today for somebody else's tomorrow, I was willing to do that.
And proud to honor veterans through this program she continues to build.
Veterans can come in all sizes, colors, different environments. But at the end of the day, we had the same heart. We all had the same goal, and that was to protect and serve.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Emily Dwyer.
In her 8 years leading the program, Casey's more than tripled the number of veterans who attend, and she's always looking for more.
A unique restaurant in Myrtle Beach opened on Veterans Day 2009. But as Megan Miller shows us, Veterans Cafe and Grill is about more than food.
If walls could talk, oh, the stories they'd tell at Veterans Cafe and Grill.
Now it's become just an icon.
And what hangs on them is the foundation of the special fellowship that happens around these tables.
Everyone on these walls has proven how big of a hero they are to this country.
That's why you could say every meal served here is a labor of love for Lou and Rhonda Mascherino. They opened it on Veterans Day 2009.
We're not here just for the veterans. We're here for the whole community. It's their place to come. It's their home away from home. They come here, they talk, they meet with other veterans, they swap war stories.
Through the years, Veterans Cafe has become a larger-than-life walk-through history, but it's also become a charitable staple local veterans groups like Chris Tortolet's have come to depend on.
People don't know how much money they have donated to this community, and tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, $60,000 in my center, alone that I can remember.
And in return, they've backed up their beloved cafe through thick and thin. First COVID, then a 2-month shutdown over the summer as Lou battled some health issues.
For me, and probably for everybody else, it's just like missing part of your soul. They don't quit. They keep on going.
And each time the community helped the cafe back on its feet.
We never realized how much the community felt about us. We've always done things for the community, and that was the community paying us back.
That's proof, though, that what happens here stretches far beyond a bite to eat and a friendly conversation.
I want to hope and I pray that this will be here for a long time to come. Even after we're gone, it should still be here. Veterans have a place they could come and get together.
And as a reminder to never forget the brave men and women we owe our freedom to.
They're here for a reason, and that reason is them. They are veterans and they served our country, and that means the world to us.
And that was Megan Miller with the story. In the last 12 years, the Veterans Cafe has raised more than $130,000 for veterans groups.
And we are just getting started. Still to come on Veterans Voices, how a Pearl Harbor survivor, now 100 years old, is a hero in his town in more ways than one.
And up next, a Fort Wayne police officer also still serving in the military. He shares how both jobs complement each other.
There are over 58,000 names on this memorial, and if it could talk, all the men and women listed on this wall would have a story to tell. I'm Adam Brower, and on behalf of Honor Flight Northeast Indiana, I want to personally thank all of our veterans for their service. In tonight's Veterans Voices program, we want to continue that storytelling, giving you insights from our veterans and their journeys to Washington. We have told these stories from various viewpoints over the past few years, with one very important goal in mind, the goal of encouraging our veterans to sign up for their free Honor Flight trip. We're here to remind you, whether you joined on your own or were drafted, regardless of your duties or where you served, you are important. We're grateful for your service, and by doing your part, you too are deserving of this gift. You played an important part in defending our freedom. You deserve more than this hour tonight. That's why we want you to take this opportunity to sign up for your well-deserved free trip to Washington. Sadly, because of the pandemic, in March 2020, the National Honor Flight Network announced the suspension of all flights. For our hub, that consequently affected 6 full flights of veterans. After several unforeseen logistical issues forced us to suspend 2 more flights this fall, we're filled with hope for 2022, and we're preparing for a full flight season next year. Our plans include 3 flights in the spring, April 27th, May 25th, and June 15th. We will fly again. We will get our veterans to Washington. So, if you're close to a veteran tonight, please pass along our thanks and show your appreciation. Ask them if they've been on their honor flight. If not, you can help them register for their trip. Signing up is easy and free. Just visit our website at hfnei.org, and at the top you'll click on Apply Now. Tonight we bring you several new stories, but from a different perspective. Some distinct views from our volunteer guardians, unique people who were assigned to a veteran either because of a specific issue or maybe they didn't have a friend or family able to join them. Tonight we take a trip to Washington through their eyes, from what they saw and the stories they have of our veterans. Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices with your hosts Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
Tonight, a Fort Wayne police officer who also still serves in the Army is thanking all veterans who helped shape our country. As Wayne 15's Brianne Boswell explains, it's why he continues to serve our community and country.
For some, joining the military is an easy and natural decision. But for others, it took obstacles to get there.
I grew up with a buddy who was very adamant about joining the military. He came from a military family. I was actually quite the opposite, probably because I was uneducated about what the military was all about. Went straight to basic training, and then in July of 2011, when he was in Afghanistan, he actually got hit by an IED and he died. And so that was a really big driving point for me. To be honest, at the time, I joined for all the wrong reasons. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and I just kind of did it, and that was in September of 2012.
At 19 and going through basic training himself, McBride realized that this really was something he could do. 10 years later, and he is still serving with the United States Army, thinking of his friend each day.
It was kind of a wake-up call for me, And as unfortunate of an event as it was, I think it was important for me to recognize that there's obviously a bigger cause out there. We still have soldiers in desolated parts of the world, and it's to protect our American way of life. And there's a reason why the United States is one of the greatest countries in the world.
As a young man in the military, Chris realized the importance of having others around him for support.
We still basically face all of the normal everyday hurdles that everybody else does. The only difference is that our support system is each other. If you didn't have each other to rely on, then it could really become a dark, dark place.
He says the conversations that are had in unfamiliar places and the sense of security he feels with those protecting his back is something not many understand.
We owe it to each other's families as well. You know, we left together, we're going to come back together.
Both of his roles in life complement each other.
I'm a reservist, and I've been a reservist the entire time, and I kind of did that intentionally because I really enjoy my civilian job. You know, I work here at the police department.
Officers, especially Chris, can relate and point struggling veterans to helpful resources.
We go to several calls every single day of individuals who simply just need somebody to talk to. And I think a lot of people would be surprised at how many of those individuals are veterans. Without the veterans from any of the wars or conflicts that we've had, America would not be where we are today. With as much bloodshed that took place, every single veteran who participated in sacrifice and gave their lives during these conflicts had a part in shaping the United States. And so if that's not celebrated, and if we're not providing, you know, our veterans and their families with the resources and the support that they need, then we could very well not be able to sit here and have this conversation today.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Brianne Boswell.
For more on Chris's deployments and his unique role he served in Guantanamo Bay, go to this story on the Veterans Voices page of Wayne.com.
Fighting for American allies in Afghanistan. That is now the mission for a retired Navy SEAL. Chris Horn has his story.
She could have been killed. Instead, she was saved. Thanks to veterans like Lieutenant Jason Redman, U.S. Navy retired. He was a member of the fabled SEAL Team 6 and was badly wounded in a firefight in Iraq. Before that, he was deployed to Afghanistan. Redman and hundreds of other special operators have used their knowledge, connections, and technology to get people out of Afghanistan. By the American deadline, just before Labor Day, Operation Pineapple, as it was known, had helped to spirit about 1,000 Americans, interpreters, and allies away from Taliban oppression.
Frequently, we would get them to the gate, and the Taliban would disperse them, firing over their heads, beating them. Beating people, beating kids.
Redman recalls one case where a father had been captured by the Taliban, and his pregnant wife went into premature labor.
A lot of bleeding, and the individuals there did not know how to stop the bleeding. And one of the medics in the network actually got on the line with one of our interpreters and basically told the people what to do, walked them through how to stop this bleeding and save this baby.
With Operation Pineapple, the mission that Redman sees as lifelong continues.
We don't leave our citizens behind. We don't leave the people that helped us behind.
Among many medals, Redman was awarded the Bronze Star with Valor, the Purple Heart, and the Meritorious Service Medal. For Veterans Voices, I'm Chris Horn.
Redman has written 2 books on leadership and overcoming adversity. He's appeared on national news programs and given TED Talks. Still ahead on Veterans Voices, why one veteran is working to make sure TAPS is played live at military funerals. Plus,
Gift for his dad blossomed into a business for a Navy veteran in Wells County. Coming up, we'll take you into the workshop of Mizzle Maid.
Our flight number was number 32, and John McLaughlin was my veteran. A few memories that John and I had together. I like to dabble in photography, but the big camera was not going to make the trip. So I had my phone, and so I took pictures of different memorials, different things that we did. All right, this is my favorite picture with John. We saw some scooters I know Dennis would not approve of this. And I said, John, come on, let's do a fun picture, come on. And so he jumped on the scooter with me, and we had a person take our picture, and we both laughed about this one. Our first stop at the World War II Memorial. We all piled off the bus, and we were immediately met with people, all ages. I was so impressed with small children, teenagers, as well as people in their 20s, 30s, and up, that came to thank him for his service. The times that we would be walking and we could see other guardians with their veterans, and they would be in wheelchairs, and they were sharing a moment, talking about maybe it was someone, or maybe it was something that had happened during their service, but you could tell that it was an emotional time for them, but it was a very precious time. I would tell any and every veteran that they are worthy of going on a trip to honor others like themselves that have faithfully and selfishly served their country, that it will be an experience of a lifetime. And if they could just bring themselves to accept the gratitude that so many people have for them, they would never regret it.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana with your hosts Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
The American flag stands for a lot of things. The Navy veteran behind Mizzle Made hopes when people look at his flags, they think of a country united.
In his garage in Wells County,
I'm no artist, even though some people call me that.
Matt Miller makes his masterpieces.
It makes a man feel 10 feet tall that you put something together with your hands and hand it to somebody, and they were kind enough to spend their hard-earned money on it. You know what I mean? So there's a sense of pride in it, and, you know, it makes me feel good.
Matt wasn't trying to start a business.
To be honest, I got tired of buying gifts, especially for my mom and dad. And I was like, well, maybe I can build a flag or something like that. And I built one for my dad for his birthday, and I had leftover material in different colors, so I built a couple different styles, and Mizzle Made was born.
Custom-made American flags.
I've done purple lines for Purple Heart, green lines for Marines, Special Forces, several breast cancer awareness flags with a pink stripe.
With carefully thought-out charring.
I don't put the stars on until last, so nobody can say I'm burning a flag.
Each flag unique.
A 20-footer. It's 20 feet long and 11 feet high in Columbia, South Carolina at Carolina Western Pubs. I built several 16-footers, the one outside of Mitchell's and the one inside behind the stage also. I've shipped flags to, I think, 17 or 18 different states around the country.
Each flag special.
I don't keep an inventory. I don't cut anything. I don't paint anything. I wait till somebody wants it, and then I like putting it together and thinking about them when I do it.
Patriotism that's personal. Matt joined the Navy when he was 20 years old.
I was thankful I found the military early.
Served 5 years active duty.
Several deployments.
Traveling the world.
Been to 30-something countries.
And building bonds that never break.
You make bonds in the military that you don't make in everyday life.
Now a civilian wildlife biologist, Matt still travels the world, deploying with the 122nd Fighter Wing out of Fort Wayne, working for the BASH program, the Bird and Animal Airstrike Hazard Team.
Try to keep animals from getting hit by planes, keep the pilots safe, keep equipment safe.
Still serving our country. And with each cut, spreading the spirit of that service, hoping the people who see his flags will think of our country too.
That's what I want people to think about, togetherness. And I know I don't like bringing it up, but 9/11 was an ugly time for this place. But one thing it did do was bring us all together. And I remember streets being lined with American flags, and that is the U.S. that I represent. Camaraderie, togetherness, honor, courage, commitment.
You can see how to order one of Matt's custom Mizzle-made flags in this story on the Veterans Voices page of Wayne.com.
Well, up next, a World War II veteran is a hero on many levels in his Colorado town. We'll meet George Blake. And later, 2 decades of digging to make sure every veteran who earned a Medal of Honor actually receives it. Stay with us.
We were on the October flight. I think it was flight 34. And so I was a guardian for William O'Dear and his brother Les O'Dear. It was kind of like meeting somebody new, but yet knowing that Bill was a Marine. That kind of was a little bit easier for me because me myself being a Marine, and we had something in common already. So we talked a little bit about what he did, and when he was in Nam and things like that, and compared to the little stuff that I did when I was in. So we had a little bit of already a bond already, I would say, because of being in the Marines. So I think the whole day, just being able to go there with somebody, knowing that I was able to make this trip possible for them, because if they wouldn't have found a sponsor to go with them, they probably would not have been able to go on this flight. So just being able to be there for them made a difference for me. Hey, I made a difference in somebody's life today. As we were getting to the airport and we were starting to get up and exit the airplane, you could see some of the excitement, like I said before, that they were wanting to get out there. Unfortunately for us that day, it was raining, so we did run into some rain, but I don't think it dampened anybody's spirits. I seen excitement. I think some of them have probably never gone there, and they were excited to go see these monuments that were made in their honor in the wars that they fought in, especially for the Vietnam veterans. They didn't have a homecoming like most other veterans did. The way I looked, they were kind of outcast because of the Vietnam War, and it was not a very popular war in that day and age. So to go there and see like the wall and things like that, the Korean Memorial, and those things that were there for them in their honor. I think they were excited to see those kinds of things. If you have a chance and an opportunity to go, take that opportunity, because it might not come back. Every opportunity, don't let it pass by. There were some friends that you may have lost that you were in your unit that went and you didn't. So to go pay respects to them and say, hey, I knew that guy right there, I would say go. If there's a chance to go, go. It is a day that you'll never forget.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana with your hosts Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
He survived Pearl Harbor, and now 80 years later, this World War II veteran is still serving his Colorado community.
Jeremy Hubbard shares George Blake's story.
Dear Mr. Blake, thank you so much for taking the time today to read my letter.
Fan mail is not the sort of thing most 100-year-olds are used to getting.
There are not enough words to express my deep appreciation for you and all others who have served our nation.
But over the years, notes from total strangers have appeared in George Blake's mailbox.
Thank you so much. It truly means a lot to me.
With gratitude for his role in history 80 years ago. He was stationed at Pearl Harbor, December 7th.
I was only there a few minutes.
1941.
And there was this tremendous sound.
The day America was thrust into World War II.
We came out of the building and the sky was full of planes.
More than 2,400 Americans died in that attack.
I suddenly realized they were all kids.
And you could say a little part of George
19,
died that day too.
Why you and not me?
A few years ago, he wrote a poem that he still can't get through without tears.
I gazed at the list of the young who died, and with pent emotions, I have cried. The tears I shed upon my cheek pose a question whose answer I seek. Why you and not me?
George is the last Pearl Harbor survivor in his small Colorado county, one of the last in the entire country, which probably explains that fan mail.
Very much so.
And the neighbors.
It is very special.
Who consider him
George is very unique. He's a special dude.
a local celebrity.
We had a second one in town, but he died probably 10 or 12 years ago.
Not to mention an outright hero.
You know, he does make a difference.
It's a reputation solidified even further a few months ago when this old veteran set out on a journey to serve once again. Seems a friend who works with a local charity told George there was a veteran in Britain who went on 100 walks to support healthcare workers. George's friend had an idea.
He said, would you get 100 walks in by your birthday? Can you do that? I said, I think so. So I did it.
Did he ever? For more than 3 months leading up to his 100th birthday, in the thin mountain air, 7,000 feet above sea level, there he was every day.
People would come by and say, what walk is this? I said, 31st to the 65th. Till my 100th birthday.
And on his birthday, he's the one who gave the present to his hometown. More than $10,000 raised through his walks to help a local nonprofit serving families during the pandemic.
I didn't mind doing it. I was walking anyway, and I was able. And that's the important thing of being a veteran anyway.
Ask anyone around here.
Is to do what you can to make a difference in your community.
They'll tell you.
He's one of the very few World War II veterans still left.
From Pearl Harbor to his front patio, service is who George Blake is.
Thank you again for your time today.
It's no wonder they're all such big fans.
That would be a tremendous surprise and gift.
For Veterans Voices, I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
Blake can't make it to the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor in December in Hawaii, but he still walks every chance he gets.
Up next on Veterans Voices, it's the Song of Remembrance. An Army veteran travels the country to give soldiers a proper farewell.
And a cemetery in California is making sure veterans who were buried without military honors are recognized and remembered now. We'll be right back.
I was a guardian for Larry Smith. I believe I was on Honor Flight 26. And I was one of 3 guardians that was guarding 3 brothers, the Smith brothers, we were told. I was so excited to meet Larry because his reputation preceded himself. I knew he was the youngest of 3 brothers. I had kind of this, I didn't know what I was walking into, but I knew I was gonna walk into a situation with a gentleman that was looking forward to meeting a lady. And so that was exciting for me. And he has a smile that lights up a room. He has a personality to fill 500 rooms. I think he's more spry than I am. When we all got off the plane, I think it was this, okay, let's go. I think that's when the excitement started really taking place. And what was interesting for me, Chris, Tom, and I all had very different experiences with the brothers. I think partially because of the men they are and the personalities they have. A handful of times that day, Larry would make a comment that he didn't feel he was worthy. You know, and sometimes he and I would have to agree to disagree and all of that. But it is kind of heartbreaking, actually, to think that there are some of our servicemen and women that feel that they're not worthy of the honor. He was blown away by how much he got to do. He was blown away by how much we got to see. He was very humbled at knowing that I was a part in what allowed him to be on this flight, so there was that. And he was very adamant. He was so glad he decided to do it. Where at the beginning of the day, he was saying that, you know, he wasn't worthy, this, that, and the other thing. And I think he had said that at one point he wasn't sure he was going to do it at all. He was so glad that he did. And he was talking about how he needed to be a voice to remind or to try to bring a call to urgency that other veterans take advantage of it. If you're on the fence at all, just jump off that fence and sign up. Let Honor Flight take care of all the other details. If you're sick and you're not sure that you're gonna make it, sign up, let us figure it out. If you want to go but you don't have someone that can go with you, sign up. Let them figure it out. If you want to go and you really want a family member to go but you're not sure about logistics, sign up. let them figure it out. All you need to worry about is signing up. Let Honor Flight figure it out.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana continues. Now here's your hosts, Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
A cemetery in California is honoring veterans who lost their lives but have no families to claim them.
Jeannie Nguyen shows us a special ceremony for unaccompanied veterans.
Ellis J. Bradford. Thomas M. Fries.
Name?
Joseph A. Giesen.
After name?
Ralph D. Tatum, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, World War II.
These veterans are finally getting the recognition they deserve.
This ceremony is to honor those veterans that came here that never got their military honors.
For whatever reason, these veterans have unfortunately been forgotten. No family, no one to claim them, no one to be there to say a final goodbye. That all changes right here at the Sacramento Valley National Cemetery with one last ceremony to honor each veteran and all they stood for.
We are now their family, basically.
Stephen Bound,
We accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation.
a member of the American Legion out of Healdsburg, is accepting the burial flag for these veterans.
It's emotional for me that these veterans don't have families.
And that emotion is something Ron Collier is very familiar with. He's a volunteer for Missing in America Project, an organization that identifies the remains of unclaimed veterans and brings them to a national cemetery.
I had 3 veterans that I found in Sonoma County that I brought over here in July of 20, and they were given their military honors.
For these 3 veterans, these honors have been waiting for them for a long time.
They had been sitting on the shelf for about 20 years. Nobody had claimed them, and I claimed them. I become their last family.
Even though these veterans may be unaccompanied, these headstones show that there's a person behind each name with a story and possibly a family that never got any closure.
We have had some people come forward and say, that's my uncle. I had no idea it was my uncle is buried here.
That's part of the reason ceremonies like this are held at this cemetery, for families to get one last reunion.
It's just very heartwarming to know that they found someone that probably was lost.
And while reunions may not happen often, ultimately, it's about giving that veteran peace.
It's to help our veterans to find a final resting place.
Army veteran Lash Bragan is making sure every military veteran who has passed on receives a live rendition of Taps, no matter what the circumstance may be.
At military funerals, it's very rare for you to actually get a live person sounding taps. You'll have a soldier there, if you're lucky, holding a bugle, and inside the bugle's an insert, and they push play, and it's a recording.
He set up a Facebook page to get the word out. Now he travels the country to give soldiers a proper farewell. Coming up on Veterans Voices, the heroic actions of the men and women in the Pentagon when the 9/11 attacks hit.
And forgotten valor, forgotten no more, thanks to 20 years of combing through the record books. Stay with us.
My name is William O'Dear, prefer to be called Bill. There's a little apprehension, meeting somebody you've never met before, and everything was new. We're going on this flight, but Steve was warm and open and welcoming. He was very easy to get to know. He's a great guide.
She done a beautiful job for me, and I talked to her all the time. We visited each other, and she took pictures of us. She took me around. She seen that I got to the places where I was supposed to be. I don't think she had any trouble with me. We all stuck together on everything. I mean, I was sitting with all of them all the time, running around. Well, we had by ourselves later on, and we just
she, like I said, she knows where to go. Got me to the restroom and everything. and you don't have to worry about that. She'll see that you get that. That's what a lot of the guys worried about that. That was one of my problems. But no, you'll be taken care of.
I'll tell you, for probably 50 years, I avoided going to the wall. I actually lived in Alexandria, Virginia for 5 years, just down the road from the wall. But I couldn't go because I felt like maybe they didn't deserve to be on that wall. I didn't know how I would feel when I stood there, and it still affects me right now. Actually, after getting there, I felt a great peace, as if they were saying, "Where in the hell you been?" It was very emotional.
I got along so good. No, I thought I was glad I went. Now, I mean, it's a great honor to have somebody to give you an honor like that, because I always told them, I said, I'm no hero. I said, heroes that are dead or they got bad medical problems. I said, oh yeah, but they said, you're a hero. I said, don't think you're not.
You need to do this. You need to sign up. You need to go there. You need to see these memorials. You're all heroes, and you're all welcome home. And that's it.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana with your hosts Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
When the Pentagon was hit by a hijacked plane on September 11th, the building and the people in it never stopped working.
John Rogers shares the story of one Navy veteran who answered the call to respond.
On September 11, 2001, Daniel Fall was a second-class petty officer working for the Secretary of the Navy. His office was at the Pentagon, and at 9:37, the world stopped.
I heard a loud explosion. I stopped. My ears were ringing terribly. People were scrambling. Some were what looked like burned. Uniforms were tattered, soot marks.
Fall and thousands of others made their way to safety, but sadly, some of his friends didn't. They were killed in the terrorist attack. Undeterred, Fall and many others went right back to work the next day, while firefighters were still on the scene.
The building never stopped operating.
Fall spent 3 weeks in the shadow of the Trade Center's ruins, helping doctors and first responders.
What makes us great is that it's in those moments that we that are still here rise up, and what we like to say in the military, stand in the gap.
That dark day will forever stick with Fall, but he doesn't focus on the negative. He remembers it as a time when the military stood up to a challenge and succeeded. For Veterans Voices, I'm John Rogers.
A Colorado man has spent the last 2 decades compiling a database of every U.S. military member to earn the most prestigious awards for valor.
His hard work has led to some big surprises. Jeremy Hubbard explains.
Army veteran Mark DeVille decided to Google himself at the urging of a coworker a few years back. He found a huge surprise.
And it came up a recipient of the Silver Star, and I said, well, that's not me. And he said, no, go ahead and read it. And so I read it, and I'm like, wow, that is me.
Turns out he had earned one of the highest honors for valor in combat and never even knew it.
That's why I do it. That's exactly why I do it.
Might never have known it if not for this man.
It feels very good.
Who's made it his life's work to make sure heroes get the recognition they deserve. Doug Sterner spends as much as 16 hours a day compiling a massive database on a website called Home of Heroes. He's documented some 275,000 recipients of the nation's highest military honors.
Silver Stars.
For more than 2 decades, he's combed through thousands of files, folders, and documents, tracking down what he calls forgotten valor.
No idea.
And that research has changed Mark DeVille's life.
It was describing our firefight in 1984.
Turns out he was involved in a 45-minute shootout at the DMZ 37 years ago as a Russian man attempted to defect across the border.
He crossed the line and he was chased by North Koreans.
DeVille and his unit saved that defector's life, an act of bravery that earned him the 3rd highest award for valor, which he only discovered when that Google search led him to Doug Sterner's website.
It is pretty cool.
Forgotten valor? forgotten no more, thanks to this veteran who promises to remember. For Veterans Voices, I'm Jeremy Hubbard.
Still to come, making sure veterans don't go hungry and don't become invisible. How two nonprofits are teaming up in Fort Wayne to give hope to heroes.
And later, a Huntington native makes her mark on military history by cracking codes in the World Wars, when Veterans Voices continues.
Dear Don Adam, I'm so excited that you get to go on the honor flight. You were chosen out of the many brave men and women, and I'm just so excited that you were chosen. Thank you for fighting. You deserve to go on the honor flight. Because of you, the world is a better place. This will be an amazing experience you'll never forget. Thank you again for everything you've done. Emma Elkins.
I was on flight number 26 on October 25th, 2017 with Marie Vance. She was 94 at the time, so she was living in an assisted living facility, and she was mostly wheelchair bound, but she was excited to do this. Well, we met the first time at the Texas Roadhouse for the luncheon, and we spent that time, I learned about her experiences. She translated for some very high-level people, and because of that, she doesn't even have any pictures from that time. My first memory from that morning is just how early it was. That's when I knew we were in for a very long day. But the environment was excitement. People were excited to do this and go on this and see things that are honoring them. So there was definitely a lot of excitement in the air. I found it so interesting that these strangers who shared these same experiences were able to bond over that over just one day. Towards the end of the day, you could tell that they were tired, but the majority of them rallied on and saw every exhibit that they could, and the mood was still just so high for that day. Those memories came back, and some of them were bad memories, but some of them were really good memories, and you could tell. As a nurse, that was one of the main reasons I wanted to go on the honor flight, was to help people. And I want veterans to know that there are ways that we can make this day perfect for you. Whatever your concern, speaking with your doctor, speaking with your family members or your volunteers, and working out a plan to make your day go as smooth as possible is something that I feel like every veteran can accomplish. The thought of something bad happening or something embarrassing shouldn't keep you from enjoying something that is dedicated to you. One of the big takeaways is that I think more veterans should do this. It has the potential to heal. It has the potential to have closure, or even just experience things that you didn't quite get to experience when you were younger.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices with your hosts Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
Two Fort Wayne veterans are making a difference in the community every day.
As our own Pat Hoffman shows us, it's part of their call to serve long after their military service is over.
Jim Garrigan and Carmen Cumberland, two veterans helping fellow veterans.
I served in the U.S. Navy from 88 to 93.
Went in 1981, stayed in until 93 when I medically retired.
During that time, my dad got terminal cancer. Congresswoman Jill Long was able to get me back home for a year so I could be with my dad.
That kindness, shown to her in a time of need while in uniform, had a powerful impact on her.
Giving back, paying it forward, that's what it's all about.
Today, Cumberland is the president and CEO of Community Harvest Food Bank. She works closely with veterans groups, including the nonprofit Invisible Vets, which was founded by Garrigan.
And our goal was simply to bring dignity back to those who served. You end up on the street for whatever reasons you did after serving, and the Invisible Vets parts come from, they ended up invisible.
The partnership really ramped up when the pandemic hit.
Carmen's program just blew up for the need, and they were taking care of everybody. But those who were homebound, veterans that they weren't able to reach, we picked up food.
It's not widely known, but that food is available to all veterans and active military and their families.
It's called Hope for Heroes. It began in 2016.
This is it's phenomenal.
What we wanted to do was help veterans who are in transition, whether they were being deployed, coming back, whatever the situation was.
Wow.
Veterans select 100 pounds of nutritious food a month.
Especially cereals and things like that cost so much right now, really helps the family.
And this isn't just veterans. This is widowed spouses. This is family members of a veteran, and we make it very, very easy for them.
You literally walk in, give a proof of service, and within those microseconds, you're out here shopping.
They've done a great service to us. They're the reason we're standing here today, and shame on us if we can't help them.
That was Pat Hoffman reporting. Carmen stresses that need can arise from a number of reasons, big or small.
Up next, this native of Huntington cracked codes in World Wars I and II, why we're just now learning about Elizabeth Smith Friedman.
And a mission of music when Veterans Voices continues.
When I first met my veteran at Fort Wayne Airport, I was very humbled and overwhelmed to meet him. I was nervous because I didn't know who he was, but he was a very pleasant man. Glad that I was his guardian on this flight. I learned a lot about him and his service in the war.
Okay, my dad, we had talked to him many times about going on the honor flight. He really wasn't sure of himself. And maybe I wasn't so sure of myself either. My brother lives in Florida, and him and his wife both are in the military down there. So, but they're in Florida, and I'm here. And my dad at the time was 91. My mom was 88. She had just had hip surgery. I think I kind of doubted it myself that he would be okay. When someone volunteered to take him and they kept on him from the honor flight, then it all worked out that there was somebody to take him. It started making sense more to me that why he should go, and we got it all accomplished then.
He was a very nice, humble man, very stubborn too. Didn't want to actually go, but he went. He told me about his family, his daughter and his wife, told me about them, and then he told me a little bit about his service while he was in the Navy. Told me about Normandy Beach, which was very interesting. With Milo and a lot of the other veterans, I could see that they really enjoyed it. They were taking in all the sights. A lot of them were a little overwhelmed. Some of them got emotional, which is expected, but I think everybody enjoyed their time there and really enjoyed the experience.
He was ecstatic. He can't talk about how great it was. He was willing to give up some money and send it over there and donate money, and willing to talk about it and talk a lot of different places and make posters and pictures. And yeah, he was all out there then. He was all game for it and supported it wholeheartedly.
You were in the service, you're always worthy of going. It doesn't matter if you served across seas or on stateside. You've got that entitlement to go and experience it.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Veterans Voices of Northeast Indiana continues. Now here's your hosts, Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
Here in Huntington, they've celebrated veterans for decades with Memorial Park, and this summer, they celebrated a new name, Elizabeth Smith Friedman. She was born in Huntington in 1892, the youngest of 10 children. But she left Huntington and was one of the few women of her time to go to college.
Well, what I've learned about Elizabeth Friedman is her vast contributions to the entire field of cryptography. She had a love of Shakespearean literature, and she got involved with a project on code breaking around Shakespeare. That's where she met her husband.
He was also a code breaker. Together, they've been called the Adam and Eve of the National Security Agency, or the NSA.
And after a period of time, realized that there really was no cipher in Shakespeare. So she took her talents and her abilities, and she served during World War I, working on breaking codes for the entire federal government.
Not only did she break codes, she trained other code breakers at the time. When the war ended, she went to work for the FBI and the Coast Guard to intercept rum runner codes as gangsters tried to smuggle alcohol into the U.S.
She was the only woman who worked for the Coast Guard at the time, and she had a very small team, and they used the rather new science of radio triangulation to break the codes and to locate the ships that would lay offshore full of alcohol ready to unload. And she was asked to testify in some high-profile trials. One of them in New Orleans had 25 defendants. One of the defendants was named Capone.
She was so effective, at one point the mob had a hit out on her. Surviving that, she joined the effort to fight the Germans in World War II. Using the same techniques as a civilian for the Navy, she caught spies on the East Coast and in South America who were radioing encoded U.S. ship departures to German U-boats, waiting to sink them as they crossed the Atlantic. She saved American ships and American lives.
One of the ships that she saved in crossing the Atlantic was the Queen Mary, which at the time was serving as a troop ship. So she may well have saved the soldiers that went on to fight at D-Day in the Battle of the Bulge. The code work that she did during World War II was for the FBI, and the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, did not want it to come out that this middle-aged woman, about 5'2", was breaking the codes for his FBI agents. That was just more than he could stomach, and so he really deliberately erased her from history.
But that has changed.
And so while her work is adjacent to military service, we thought it was fitting to have the memorial marker for her here on the outskirts of our Veterans Memorial.
She really could have been a very ordinary woman.
You know, we're all good Midwesterners here, and we struggle to brag on ourselves, but she is a great example of hard work and determination, and recognizing that, you know, out of a small place like Huntington, somebody can make a real difference in the world.
Elizabeth Smith Friedman has received more accolades in our time than she ever did in hers. In 1999, she was inducted as a charter member into the NSA Hall of Honor, and then earlier this year, PBS aired a documentary on her life, The Code Breaker, which was based on this 2017 biography, The Woman Who Smashed Codes by Jason Fagon. In its review, the New York Times said not all superheroes wear capes, and Elizabeth Smith Friedman should be the subject of a future Wonder Woman movie.
Great story. Up next, how one man's passion for music turned into serving his country when we come back.
I was on Flight 31, and Jesse Dedloff is my veteran's name that I was so fortunate enough to be a guardian for. Some folks hadn't been on an airplane in a long time. I heard a few people talking about, you know, they had been on a plane in 20, 30 years. You know, this experience was not like a normal flight. So it was a lot more attention to making sure everybody was very comfortable. I think the attention to support the veterans and having them appreciate such a powerful day for them. A lot of effort was put into it. It brought tears to my eyes to see him with the smile he had and everyone he wanted to shake his hand and thank him for his service and appreciate everything that he had done for our country. It could have kept going on, and I think he would have enjoyed it. You know, as we came out and all the people were that, well, I have to tell you, the one thing he really did appreciate was when we were back in DC before we got on the plane and all the fun music was being played and the dancers, and he got a big smooch on his cheek. He thought he was top notch. You know, he just felt that was really the cat's meow, that he had a beautiful young lady want to give him a big kiss. We went to the Women's Memorial, which is right outside of Arlington. And there was a young woman, not young at that point in time, she served like 2 years after Korea, I believe. And she was being honored at the Women's Memorial, and she was a Marine. And there were several Marine functions going on at that point in time there. And these young women that were young Marines, brand new in the service, came over and presented her with this plaque. And most of them said, there was 2 of them I remember because I was close enough, they said, I would not be here today if it weren't for you. You signed your name to the dotted line saying you were going to serve this country. Whether you served it in conflict, in support, during peacetime, you actually represented, you said, I will go when you were ordered to go someplace. The fact that you didn't go someplace doesn't really matter. and you deserve to go. After the day with my wife's guardian and hearing some of the things he was saying, like I don't belong here, until he got to the final and he understood, everybody that served in our armed services should sign up.
Honor Flight Northeast Indiana would like to thank the James Foundation, Three Rivers Federal Credit Union, and all of our sponsors for making tonight's show possible.
Welcome back to Veterans Voices with your hosts Dirk Rowley and Alyssa Ivinson.
Our last story tonight takes us to New Orleans, where a veteran there played to his passion in his military career.
Reporter LeBron Joseph introduces us to Roger Dickerson.
I started when I was very young. I would have to say before 4 or 5 years old.
At a young 87 years old, the man in the piano key suspenders is composer and music educator Roger Dickerson. Dickerson reflected on his early days of playing music in our city.
And there were musicians who lived in my neighborhood. We had a piano in the house. And so music was everywhere for me, is what I'm saying.
Dickerson is a multi-instrumentalist who played piano but also French horn and baritone horn, which led to an undergraduate music scholarship at Dillard and a master's degree from Indiana University. Upon graduation from IU, he was drafted into the U.S. Army, playing in the 44th Army Band, a job he took to heart.
You're serving your country, and we all were trying to do it the best that we could in what we did. We were musicians.
Dickerson and the Army Band spent significant time in Heidelberg, Germany, playing for everything from officers' events to marches. Roger Dickerson's brilliance as a musician, teacher, and composer would be heard for generations in festivals, compositions, and endless projects. What's not lost on Dickerson is the service he gave to his country during his Army years.
I could see, very well a sense of, having made a contribution to something very important.
And lifelong friends from the 44th Army Band as well.
We hope you have enjoyed tonight's program. And if you'd like to see these stories again, go to the Veterans Voices page on Wayne.com.
Thank you for watching, and thank you to all of our veterans and those still serving to protect and defend our freedoms.
Have a good night.